All right, hi, welcome back, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Sarah, and I'm the designer behind the balance pattern. All right, so today the kind of video I have is a tutorial, sew along, hack of a pattern. It's still, we're at the beginning here, so I'm not sure. Okay, so the initial concept is that I want to hack the Sundaze dress, which is one of my pattern, into a baby doll dress, and hopefully I can do like a tutorial for you guys where if you have the pattern at home, you can hack it too. And then I'm gonna do, I think, a sew along so we can all sew it together. And by the end of it, you would have this gorgeous, cute baby doll dress, and we can all be twinning together. That's the plan, okay? So I initially got the idea from the Love to Sew podcast. They did an episode a while back about cotton eyelet fabric, and they each did a different project. I saw Caroline's project and I thought it was so cute, so gorgeous. She did this red eyelet top, and I was scrolling down to see what was the pattern because I wanted to make one too. And I saw it was a hack of the Sundaze dress, heavily hacked, granted, but I thought it was so funny that I would think, oh, this top is so me, I want to make one, and it's literally one of my patterns. Of course, I would think that. So while I still do want to make a top hack like she did, I thought a baby doll dress was a bit more me for summer, so that's what we're gonna be doing. My initial thought, okay, is that I drafted the hack, but I haven't tested it yet, so I'm gonna be doing the proto next, and then I'll come back here, let you know my thoughts, my process and everything. And then hopefully from there, I'll be able to get a little tutorial going for you guys to do the hack too. And then we can all sew it together. And yeah, by the way, I didn't say that, but for my fabric, I'm using a cotton eyelet that I got from Blackbird's Fabric in this gorgeous wine brown color. Actually, let me just get it then. So yeah, that's the fabric. It's called Cabernet, the color, and that's really a good descriptive for it because it's kind of brown reddish. It's perfect. And yeah, that's the plan for now. So I guess I'll see you when the proto's done. All right, hi, we're the next day, and yesterday I was just sewing away. So we've made the proto, and she's really cute. You can't see the bottom, but like it's perfect. My only disclaimer is I think for this kind of silhouette, you need to have the vision, because right now it's giving kind of like sick Victorian child, but I'm telling you, once with the real fabric and once it's style, I think it's gonna be really cool. Cool vibes, cool girl vibes, you know, with some biker boots, or if anyone got some fry money, I would love to have some fry boots. I'm open. So I'm gonna be working on the tutorial next, and I just need to figure out the back part. My elastic's a bit too loose, but that's fine. Yes, I just need to not figure out, but tidy up the back part of the tutorial, and then I'll be cutting my real fabric. And where I'll see you next is in the pattern tutorial. So yeah, that's it. Goodbye. Okay, so for this hack, you will need the following pattern pieces: the upper front, number 1, the upper front lining, number 2, the upper back, number 3, printed twice, the side front, number 6, printed twice, the side back, number 8, printed twice, the sleeve, number 9, and the strap, number 10. These pieces that I used are about half scale, just so everything can fit in the frame while I'm filming. So now the reason why I have you print some pattern pieces twice is because the main and lining pieces are slightly different, but we need to develop them from out of the same base pieces. And for this hack, the sleeve and the strap pieces stay the same as the OG pattern, so you can just put them aside for now. Okay, so the first thing we'll want to do is cut the side front and side back pieces to where the line for the mini length is. Then we'll start by making the front pieces of the dress. Grab the upper front and side front pieces, trim or fold the seam allowance at the top of the side front piece, and glue the piece to the upper front, aligning the seam lines together. The side seams should form a nice continuous line here. Now we are left with this big empty space at the front, and basically what we want to do is extend the center front line and hemline so they meet at the center front bottom corner. What you can do is first trace a long vertical line on a piece of paper, align the center front over it, and tape the pattern piece. Then extend the hemline until it crosses the center front line, and here you just want to make sure that the corner is squared off so everything is straight. Add the fold line symbol at the center front and your first piece is ready. This piece will be cut one time on the fold out of your main fabric. Now you'll want to repeat the same steps for the upper front lining, and we'll meet back here. Once that piece is done, trim 2.5 centimeter off the bottom, and that's just to make sure that the lining isn't peeking out when you're wearing the dress. The upper front lining piece will also be cut on the fold once out of the lining fabric. Now for the back. Grab the upper back and side back pieces. Trim or fold the seam allowance at the top of the side back piece and glue the piece to the upper back just like we did for the front pieces. The side seam should also form a nice continuous line here. So for the back, we will start with the lining piece just because it will be easier to then do the main fabric piece after. So start by tracing a long horizontal line on a piece of paper, square that off, and then trace a vertical line. Now we will need to extend the pattern piece to form the center back. To do that, measure the width of your front piece at the bottom and transfer this measurement on your horizontal line, including the side back piece, and then you can tape your piece on your horizontal line. Then trace a line going from the upper back to the vertical line, making sure once again that it is squared off and straight at the middle back. Okay, so this back piece is now your lining piece. Trim 2.5 centimeter off the bottom. It will be cut once on the fold out of your lining fabric. So repeat the exact same process for the main back piece, but do not trim off 2.5 centimeter at the bottom and keep it glued on the paper. We'll continue from here. Okay, so for the back piece, what we need to add is the part of the pattern that folds over to create the channel and the baby ruffle at the top. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is to trace a parallel line 5 centimeter from the top and just make sure that everything is straight and squared off. Then trace a vertical line joining the new line to the dress, but trace it 1.5 centimeter from the notch because that's the equivalent of the seam allowance. Okay, so now add a cross symbol at the junction of your seam allowances. That's a marking for notching in the seam later when we'll be sewing everything together. It's gonna make sense eventually, okay? I swear. Lastly, add a notch 4 centimeter from the top to mark where the fold line will be. And alright, that's it. This piece will be cut once on the fold out of your main fabric. And then just a note for the sleeve and the straps, cut them according to the OG pattern, so 2 times each out of your main fabric. Alright, so let's start by prepping the straps. The first thing we'll do is fold one end of the strap 1 centimeter to the wrong side and press. Then we'll fold the strap lengthwise and press. Next, open the straps, fold the edges so they meet where the crease is and press. When that's done, refold everything back up and press so that the raw edges are hidden. To finish the straps, stitch all around the folded edge and then set them aside for now. Next, we'll prep the sleeves, and those steps are the same as in the instructions for the OG Sundaze. So start by notching the seam at the junction right up to where the marking is. Then turn and press that edge 1.5 centimeter to the wrong side. After that, fold and press the top and bottom edge of the sleeve 1.5 centimeter to the wrong side. Then fold and press the edge again, this time 3 centimeter to the wrong side, right where the notch is. Alright, so we'll be doing the top channel first, and you want to stitch close to the folded edge to start. Then you'll make a second seam 1.5 centimeter from the first one to form a channel. Next, insert the strap into the channel starting at the back of the sleeve, and make sure to base stitch the end of the strap so it stays in place. The next step is to unfold the hem and stitch the sides of the sleeve. Here you want to finish your seam using your preferred method. In my case, I'll be overlocking my seams and then press the seam towards the back of the sleeve. Refold the sleeve hem and stitch the folded edge down, but leave a gap at the underarm seam because we'll be inserting an elastic there. Just like we did for the top of the sleeve, stitch a second line 1.5 centimeter from the first seam, this time going all around so no gaps. Okay, so there is no chart for the elastic length here, so just wrap the elastic around your bicep until it's a bit loose. Then insert the elastic into the channel using a safety pin. Once both ends are out of the sleeve channel, overlap them and stitch them together to secure. When your elastic is secured, stitch the gap we left at the underarm and set the sleeve aside for now. Alright, so moving on to the dress, we'll start by putting the front and back right sides together and sewing the side seams. Finish the seams, press them towards the back, and then we'll repeat this step for the lining. Now, just like we did for the sleeve, you want to notch in the seam at the back right up to where we put the marking. Then, and this is where the fun starts, we'll put the sleeve right sides together with the main fabric. Here you have notches and underarm seams to match, so it should be easy. You can base stitch the sleeve in place, but I just go for it and then I add the lining in. So the lining is going to be right sides together with the dress, and the sleeve will be sandwiched in the middle. You want to sew through all those layers, making sure that you keep the strap out of the way at the front. When that seam is done, clip in the seam. Okay, so next we will stitch the keyhole detail at the center front, match the shapes, and note that the lining is shorter here, which is totally normal. So stitch the main and lining together and then make sure you clip the seam really well here, especially down the center. Next, we'll finish the front, so fold the outer edges 1.5 centimeter to the wrong side. It should be easy, just follow your seam allowance. Then, just like we did for the sleeve, we'll fold the top edge 1.5 centimeter to the wrong side, then again 3 centimeter to the wrong side. To create the channel, we'll stitch the edge down first, then make a second line of stitching 1.5 centimeter from the first one, just like we did for the sleeve. Using a safety pin, insert the strap from the sleeve, there should be a part that's hanging out, into the front channel. Next, we'll basically repeat the same steps for the back. So first, let's fold the edge 1.5 centimeter to the wrong side. Then, just like we did for the front, we'll fold the top edge 1.5 centimeter to the wrong side, then again 3 centimeter to the wrong side. To create the channel, we'll stitch the edge down first, then make a second line of stitching 1.5 centimeter from the first one. Now, there's no strap for the back, so instead we'll just use elastic. And once again, you just need to wing it for this one. So once you have your elastic, insert it into the channel using a safety pin and just make sure to stitch the ends to the dress to secure the elastic. Okay, so the last step is the hem. So you want to fold and press the hem 6 mm to the wrong side twice and then stitch it down. This goes for the main fabric and the lining, and I always make them separate so there's no like weird bunching. And yeah, here she is. She's so cute. I'm obsessed. I'll answer some pictures so you can see the full body effect, you know? But yeah, thanks for coming along. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, bye.